So your political enemies secretly killed, cooked, and fed you members of your own family. Well, there is good news. You're certainly far from alone. Ancient myth, legend, and allegedly accurate historical documentation are a veritable buffet of kith and kin. As for thousands of years, rulers proudly proclaim their culinary conquest of questionable content, unconcerned with petty social norms and our modern, less murder and cannibalism focused taste and storytelling tropes. Take, for instance, the tale of Harpagus, first general and member of the Median royal family that ruled the pre-Persian Empire throughout most of the 6th and 7th centuries BCE. A great and popular military leader, Harpagus was King Astyages' go-to man for any necessary wet work, be it overt or covert. According to the father of history and stretched truths, Herodotus of Halicarnassus, Astyages had a prophetic dream that his soon-to-be-born grandson and heir would overthrow him and his entire empire. Astyages, clearly not quite understanding the rules of ancient prophecies, ordered Harpagus to take the newborn baby out into the wilderness and make sure it didn't come crawling back. Harpagus, who wasn't quite feeling up to leaving an infant to die in the woods, instead sought out the nearest local kindly couple, telling them they won the Babylonian clearinghouse sweepstakes and left the brat with them. A solution that any historian and classicist will tell you always solves the problem and never results in entirely predictable circumstances years later. Harpagus then returned to Astyages, told him in some fashion or another that the kid was gone, and went back to being the king's right-hand man. Things would unravel just 10 years later, though, when the Median court caught wind of some kid in the sticks who was acting a little too high and mighty for his position as son of a goat watcher, having allegedly won a game of King of the Mountain with other local kids by sheer force of arrogance alone, which is something that ancient kings apparently got daily briefings on. Calling the child and his father to court to answer for his uppityness, Astyages was shocked to discover that the boy bared a striking resemblance to himself, at which point Harpagus fessed up to not killing the baby a decade earlier. Unexpectedly reunited with his long-lost grandson, who he had ordered lost long ago, and who his court seers said had fulfilled the prophecy of becoming king with his victory over the other world children in a shoving match atop a dirt mound, and thus no longer a threat to his own rule, the king declared a feast and celebrations, to honor not just his newly returned son, but all sons of great men. Great men like Harpagus, whose family should be rewarded for his foresight in disobeying a direct order 10 years before. Astyages told Harpagus to bring his son to court, so that the two young boys could become as fast friends as Harpagus and Astyages were, and to keep each other entertained while the men prepared the party. Come dinner time, however, Harpagus' only living son was nowhere to be seen. Not that it seemed to concern the king. Assuming that two noble princes could only get into so much trouble and danger in a palace, Harpagus dove into the feast, savoring each delectable dish, stuffing himself until he was fit to burst, at which point Astyages bet him that he couldn't guess what beast he had banqueted on. Unable to place the taste, the king ordered a covered serving dish to be set before Harpagus, who lifted the lid to discover the head, hands, and feet of his own dear sweet boy. Somehow keeping his cool, Harpagus thanked the king for his meal, tossed his son into a doggy bag, and brought the leftovers home for burial, then returned to court as if nothing ever happened, while the prodigal prince was sent to a neighboring kingdom to learn the ways of the world, as was common at the time. Unbeknownst to Astyages, his once loyal friend and right-hand man began secretly talking to the young heir, who quickly grew to be a popular and brilliant military commander in his own right, soon taking control of the foreign kingdom's armies and threatening to march on his home. Without a second thought, Astyages dispatched Harpagus to deal with the pretentious little upstart. Instead, at the Battle of Pasargadae, and followed by his own elite forces, Harpagus switched sides, brutally slaughtering the very much surprised Median army, before marching on the capital itself, to help the young prince depose Astyages, probably at the end of a very big sword. the kid he had saved all those years ago went on to lead a decently successful reign, founding the Persian Empire and enacting some popular policies, such as law reform and ending the Babylonian captivity of the Hebrew people, an act that would land the young King Cyrus the title of
Messiah.
So all in all, not the worst outcome of gastroinfanticide.